I'm just going to try to answer one question that reporters have asked me, and that is, why didn't you move when asked? And my answer is, I tell them all the time, history had me glued to the seat. And you know what they say, now how is that? I said, well, remember February month is Negro History. Well, we wasn't exactly celebrating the whole month, but because we went to a segregated school, we did it for a whole month because most of the teachers felt that we had been left out of the American history. And only 2 men was in the encyclopedia, and that was George Washington Carver and Booker T. Washington. There was no history books, no books in our library. Maybe other cities, but not Montgomery. So that month, Mrs. Geraldine Nesby and Mrs. Josie Lawrence. Mrs. Josie Lawrence was my history teacher, and Mrs. Geraldine Nesbitt was my literature teacher. And we discussed all the injustices that was perpetrated on the black community in Montgomery City. And then we discussed the heroes. And amongst them, some of the heroes, 2 of my favorite were females. That was Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth. Then we discussed other heroes like Jackie Robinson breaking the baseball barrier, and then we going into W.E. Du Bois and then Frederick Douglass. Well, we did the whole thing, the whole month. So I said, that's why I said it felt like Harriet Tubman was pushing me down on one shoulder, and Sojourner Truth was pushing me down on the other shoulder. I was embraced spiritually by the struggle and the bravery of these 2 women. So I said they picked the wrong day to pick on me, the bus motorman. But anyway, he told you this story. But as a child, the past experiences, not being able to go in the store and, the aroma, the 5 and 10 in those days, not today, but in those days. The popcorn, the peanuts, and then we couldn't sit at the lunch counter where white children would sit. And then they made it where you couldn't pass by that aisle anyway. So if I was, as a little girl, I would look across there and I would see the white kids, and I don't know whether they was eating anything any better. But my mama said, honey, are you hungry? She said, I would take you to get you a hot dog. That is in the back section where only a little counter for Negroes. So anyway, those childhood experiences. And furthermore, you couldn't try on hats. And may I demonstrate? Let me take off my shoes. Now, do you think a white person would try on a pair of shoes that a black person have taken their feet out of in 1950? Do you think so? So that's what we went through. That was one of the things. That's the reason I said history, the history of how we was treated, had me glued to the seat, and I wasn't going to move that day. Nothing. I refused. They said, oh my God, you refused? I refused to walk off the bus. So 2 policemen, they manhandled and pulled me off the bus, put me in the patrolman car and handcuffed me.
My question is, what happened the next day at school when you got back to class?
I didn't go back to school the next day. I was too traumatized. Oh, but when I did go back, the parents the other parents, not my parents, but the student parents had convinced them, oh my God, that Claudette Colvin, that girl is crazy. Stay away from her.
And how did you become a plaintiff on the suit?
They had no other one. They didn't have anyone else.
There were, just to elaborate, they tried, to find people, but the stakes were too high. The price was too high to pay. To put your name on a lawsuit against those bus laws then was to expose your family, the people that you knew, your neighborhood. And I talked to Fred Gray, interviewed him about that, the lawyer who put that lawsuit together. And it was hard sledding trying to find anybody who would put their name on it. And as I say, in the end, he found only 4 people, Claudette and 3 others.
What advice would you have for young people today who want to stand up for something that they believe in?
To do it. Stand up if you have to stand up alone.